link, Aditi?
Yeah, just a second. I'll get it in a moment. Yeah. All right, we have it here. Uh, Hello everyone. Yeah,
Now, have you shared the link to Sally?
no. We are live now.
I got it.
Yeah. Apologies for the technical issues. We were unable to go live on the link that we had shared earlier. So if you are joining us for the webinar, and if you have joined us on the previous link, we will find a way to communicate this link to you. Um,
Should we just wait until the link is posted in the chat?
yes. I suppose we'll just wait a couple of minutes
Yeah.
and let people join.
Yeah, I think it's live. Or at least I'm able to see this thing.
Yeah, it is live. I think maybe we can begin by 11:10, or should we begin right away?
We maybe one more minute we'll wait. 11:09. Okay. Right. Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first inquiry webinar of the year. Um, we're sorry about the technical issues uh, preceding this, but we hope you can hear us and see us well. Um, Please let us know in the chat. Okay, so uh, in this inquiry webinar, uh, this webinar is going to be about uh, higher order cognitive capacities like critical thinking, which is one of the things that Think pursues. Um Today, we will give you a sneak peek using an example on how knowledge is constructed and critically examined. Um, we will look at one incredibly puzzling phenomenon that all of us have come across in our school curriculum and in our textbooks. Um, but we will examine it more closely and critically. And once we do that, after that, we will go over some of the abilities that we exercised as we did it. And also think about how these abilities are useful, not just academically, but in other walks of life as well. Um, and after that, we will talk about the goals and the structure of inquiry and integration in education, which is a 4-month online course that Think offers. The applications for the course are open right now, and we will broadly go over the goals of the course and help you decide if this is something that you would like to pursue. Um, yeah, handing over to Vignesh.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you for this. So today we are going to look into one of the most well-known experiments that school kids are introduced, which is all about, having a candle and you put a jar over it in a trough of water, and the candle goes off and the water level rises. That's the most puzzling part. So let's have a look at the video, a short video, 20-second video, and which will help us to recapitulate in case we want. Yeah, so this is what happens. So I think we are all familiar with this experiment. Maybe I'll just show this again one more time. Right. So, Aditi, wasn't it amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what do you what did you observe?
I observed that the candle went off and the water level inside the jar uh, rose
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder why that happened.
Yeah. So what do you think? Why that happens?
Well, the explanation that I'm familiar with up until now is that the candle in burning uses up the oxygen, and so there is some space in the jar that was occupied by the oxygen, which is now empty, and to fill in that space, the water comes up into the
Yeah.
jar.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. That's what our textbooks tell us, right? Or at least that's what we remember of our school days. That the oxygen inside the jar is used up by the candle, and that empty space that is created because of the consumption of oxygen is filled up with the water rising. But Aditi, did you know that when a hydrocarbon, like a candle, is an hydrocarbon that burns, it also gives out carbon dioxide? As in, so when the oxygen is consumed, it also gives out carbon dioxide. So now, do you think this explanation that we learned, do you think that holds?
Well, yeah, if something is consumed and something else is produced, then the total space that's supposed to be occupied within the jar should be the same. So how is there empty space for the water to come in? So yeah, if you put it like that, then it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So, right. So we learn in the combustion chapter in the textbooks that hydrocarbons give out carbon dioxide, and so there is one side oxygen is consumed, the other side carbon dioxide is produced. So there is no space. I mean, there one. So it is all the same, right? So water rising is a puzzle. why would water rise if there is no empty space, right? That's a puzzle. And did you also notice that, or rather, we learned in the textbooks that when the burning happens, it is not just carbon dioxide that is given out, but also water vapor that comes out, right? Then can I say that the water rising is because of the water vapor condensing?
Could it be because of the water vapor condensing? Off the top of my head, that doesn't seem to make sense because, well, one, is there so much water inside the jar? Then that will allow the water level to go up so much. Um, if that's one question that I have. And the other question that I have, if we look at the video more carefully, is that the water level outside the jar reduces, and there seems to be some kind of suction activity where the water level is um, where the water from outside the jar is going into the jar. So I don't think it would be condensation that would explain this.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so you brought up a very nice point that you referred to the video and you referred to several observation or other observations, right? So, like the water in the trough goes, decreases, and it looks like the water from the trough goes inside, right? Do you think we can go back to the video again and look at if there are some more observations, and that might give us a little more ideas?
yeah, absolutely.
Did you notice something? What I did
Yeah,
notice is the water level increases a little fast towards the end when the flame goes off. Did you notice that?
yes, that it seems to
Yeah.
yeah, the water already seems to be rising even when the candle is burning, and after the candle goes out, um it seems to rise up much faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also some smoke-like thing coming up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And the candle is sort of now glazed. I mean, it's not very transparent. I mean, the jar is not very transparent.
yeah. Perhaps
Yeah.
we should write these down so that we are able to keep track of the observations that we are making.
Okay. So observations, flame goes off after closing with jar. That's the first observation. And water level inside the jar rises. And then water level rises slowly in the beginning. Oh no, the water level in the trough goes down as well. In the trough decreases. Then comes water level rises slowly in the beginning, and immediately after the flame goes off, it rises fast. And we also see fog-like. The jar is now fog-like. I mean, not very transparent, right? After the flame goes off.
Yeah. In fact, there seems to be some kind of condensation at the surface of the jar.
Yeah, whether it is condensation or something, we don't know, but
True.
yeah. So I'm just going to say it is fog-like.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So now what is these are the observations we made. And initially, I think our textbooks were focusing only on, water level rises inside the jar and the flame goes off. But now we have additional observations to be explained.
Hmm.
That makes it a little more challenging and interesting, I would believe. Right?
Yes.
So let's see if we can think of some explanation for why the water level rises slowly in the beginning and immediately and then after the candle goes off, it rises fast,
Hmm.
right? And what could be the possible explanation for the fog? Now, yeah, as you said, we know from the hydrocarbon combustion stuff that there is going to be water vapor. And that water vapor is perhaps why that it is fog-like, right? But that doesn't explain why the water level inside rises either. Now, we are still stuck up with the first one itself. Why does the water level rise? Because our explanation that oxygen is used up and an empty space is created, we said that carbon dioxide is also produced, and water vapor, in addition, water vapor is produced. So in essence, just oxygen is consumed, but there are two different gases that are produced. So actually, we should expect that the water level, in fact, inside the jar decreases and all
Yeah.
the pushed out.
Yeah, because there seem to be more substances at the end of the reaction than at the beginning.
Correct.
Um, but I think we can agree that the flame goes out, that we think the flame goes out because the oxygen in the jar is used up. Um, I am not able to think of any other explanation for why that might happen. So perhaps we can start our explanation by writing that down.
Okay. So this is very specifically to why the flame goes off in the jar, right?
Yeah.
So oxygen is required for burning. If there is no oxygen, there is no burning. Burning of candle consumes oxygen. Once the oxygen is used up inside the jar, the candle goes off. So this explains the first one. I mean, and we should also say that there is no oxygen coming out from the environment, right? Because this is a very closed jar. Since
Yeah.
this is a closed jar, no oxygen from outside enters, right? Okay, so this sort of explains the first one. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So this explains the first one. Okay. But then now what explains this water level rises, water level inside the jar rises?
Hmm. Yeah, as we discussed earlier, if anything, the water level must go down. Uh, so then why is it going up?
Yeah. So in other words, what you're saying is the logical prediction of based on what we know, right, is that the water level should decrease, as in oxygen is consumed and combustion of hydrocarbon releases carbon dioxide. I'm just going to put CO2 and water vapor, uh, as in two gases, right?
Hmm.
So when candle is a hydrocarbon, and when it burns, I'm just going to use some short forms, burns, releases CO2 and water vapor,
Hmm.
right? So what we are saying is there is consumption of one gas and release of two gases.
Hmm.
So we would ideally expect. So this means, as a consequence, more of what to say. There is more substance occupying inside the jar, more substance inside the jar, and water must leave the jar. This is what we would predict to happen.
Hmm. Yeah. But what we observe is actually different.
Correct.
Um,
Which one do we take? What should we take? What we predict as correct, or should we go by our observations?
I think we should go by the observation,
Okay.
because that seems to be a representation of what is really happening.
Hmm.
So perhaps there is something in our explanation that needs to change, uh, for it to be able to explain our observation. Uh, so what could that be? Uh, could it have something to do with the temperature of uh, the jar? For instance, the candle heats up the interior of the jar, um, and
Yeah. So if we say that the lighting of the candle increases the temperature, we know that with increase in temperature, the gas volume tends to expand.
yeah,
But in this case, it is a closed jar, so the pressure
hmm,
is going to increase,
yeah,
right? And if the pressure inside increases, then again it should only try to push out the water,
hmm,
right? If you take a pressure cookers, for instance, it's a closed system and you heat it, the pressure builds in and it tries to release the pressure. So
hmm.
if anything, again, this explanation that you thought of should again lead to decrease in the level of water.
But if we combine the two things that we are saying, so if we combine what we said in point one, and we say that oxygen is used up, uh, and the air inside the jar gets heated up, would the combination of the two explain it? Also, um, if we say, um, if we I think this might help us explain the why the water rises slowly at first and then quickly later. Because uh, as the candle goes out and uh, the air that has expanded starts compressing again because there is no longer something to heat it, perhaps that's what creates space for the water to go in. Would that make sense?
So so when the candlelight goes off, it would only come back to its original volume, right? Or is it going to
Hmm.
even shrink?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay. Right. So that's wonderful. And I think yeah, so this is fun, right? I mean, this is what as kids, as school kids, or each of us have to be engaged with, in not just giving memorizing the explanations that are in the textbooks, but ourselves coming up with explanations, testing it, discussing it out, and each of us finds flaws, not flaws as in as finding out that
Gaps, perhaps?
gaps, yeah, gaps in the explanations given by the others. Wouldn't it be fun if our school days were like this?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And also, I think what we gain out of uh, uh, the experience of doing this is also like a deeper understanding of the material itself. Now we're not just thinking of content that would be covered in one chapter of the book, but we are combining our knowledge from multiple chapters, which are treated as sort of distinct uh, sets, and bringing them together and thinking about it coherently. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we pause here and then sort of revisit what sort of skills, abilities, and capacities are needed in such kind of the thinking that goes on, or this kind of engagement that goes on, and shall we try to relate it to higher order cognitive capacities that NEP 2020 also seems to call for?
Absolutely. But before we do that, I
Ah,
just want to point out that we have not figured out the answer to this. We don't know what is the absolutely correct explanation, and that is that while is a good goal in itself to figure it out, um, that is not the goal of the current webinar. In this webinar, we are talking about the importance of the skills and abilities that we used in this sort of an exercise, and how these skills and abilities um, are useful to build moving forward. Yeah. So
yeah. Thanks for that. Skills and abilities that go into. Okay. So would you say the first skill is, sorry,
that's okay.
skills and abilities, would you say um, um, observations?
Yeah. I would say noticing, like
Ah,
making observations, uh, and describing what we see. That was certainly one. Um, Coming up with explanations for puzzling phenomena that we observe. Evaluating those explanations, um, be it our own or other people's explanations.
meaning the explanations of ours as well as the others.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by evaluating?
So I noticed that whenever we came across an explanation, we did not take it to be the right one at face value. Like um, we tried to figure out what other things that explanation would predict. Um, and uh, as in, what I mean to say is other predictions of that explanation, and check if that follows. And yeah, deducing logical consequences of the explanation. And
And
when it
checking
didn't,
if that is true. So,
and when
hmm,
that did not make sense, we try to think, we try to reevaluate our explanation.
or come up with a different explanation, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And do you think coming up with explanation requires sort of creativity, imagination, insight,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And explanation requires creativity, imagination, insights, and whatever. Yeah. Okay. And so this making observations and describing it as we see it is also a very challenging uh, thing, and which I think is very important, at least at the primary or secondary school level, because that improves their language ability. So here again, we are not focusing only on the science part of it, but also the language ability also needs to build in, right? So what we are looking for is a kind of an integrated way of developing the kid's intellectual abilities, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And these are also interrelated. And uh, beyond language, I would also say that there is a certain disposition that is built in this process of being open-minded and being open to being wrong, and not taking uh, our ideas very personally. And I think these are important aspects of the scientific mind, like the scientific temper, and such exercises help build that.
Yeah, the Constitution of India also calls us to develop the scientific temper. And scientific temper is all about being very rigorous with the observations, being very rigorous with the explanations. And when we say being rigorous with the explanation, we are looking at an explanation that explains all the observations. So, for instance, we were not convinced that the oxygen story or the oxygen explanation is explains all the 5 observations that we have listed. It explains one, but not the others, right? So that is a rigor that we sort of develop. And it also, so we make mistakes and we are open to changing the mistakes, as you said. So we have to sort of dissociate ourselves from taking ownership and seeing it as our idea to this is an idea that we are trying to evaluate. So these are all things that go into the second scientific temper, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so we're going beyond abilities to what we call, I think, dispositions and habits of mind. Um, and these sort of dispositions and habits of mind can go beyond the specific discipline and the specific question that you're investigating. So if if I mean for a lot of people uh, who explore other disciplines and not just science, this example illustrates that engaging in scientific inquiry uh, need not be a need not be a discipline specific endeavor. You can develop skills and dispositions that go beyond
Yeah.
that
So
discipline.
for instance, this is also useful in our daily life, right? So when we look at as simple as making a decision of which mobile phone to buy, right? So we have to
Yeah.
look into all sort of observations, all sort of descriptions, and then critically examine which one is, the which one of the review is fine, and all these things are there. So yeah, that's important. And in our own lives of decision making, whether I have to go to this college, X college, or Y college, should I apply for this program or that program? Nowadays there's a craze over the artificial intelligence, but there is also a saying that artificial intelligence is a very short-lived buzzword. So which one to believe in, right? So again, here again, we'll have to make decisions on these things. So how to take decisions? How do we rationally make decisions, right? So that's more important, right?
Yes.
So okay, now so that we have seen about some of the abilities. We were also talking about IIE, right? Inquiry and Integration in Education, an online course that we were talking about. Should we go about that?
Yes. So you can get more information about II on the Think website. Um, but II is precisely II, which stands for Inquiry and Integration in Education, is precisely about building these skills and these abilities um, uh, over a 4 month period. So as you can see, the course talk the course will help you acquire a deeper understanding of ideas, think critically, uh, develop the ability to figure out answers to questions on your own, and structure your thoughts and arguments better, and develop clarity and rigor in thinking, reasoning, and communicating. Um, and if you go through the web page, we talk about who the course is for, um, and what it will not help you with also. Um, so what the course is about and what it isn't. You can also see a sample learning trigger, and these are sent out every other week. And you can view a sample uh, learning trigger. The first chapter is called Invitation to Inquiry. Um, and you can go over the entire chapter and the exercises in it as well. Um, yeah, if we can go back to the website, um, the course structure is also given to you, and along with some testimonials of people who have done this course before, and also what is expected of you. Uh, the course fee is on a voluntary basis, So if you can afford to pay and if you wish to pay, you can pay in 2 installments. The details are all on the website. Um, yeah.
But
So
it's
if
completely on a voluntary basis.
it's completely on a voluntary basis. So if you have any financial constraints or if you think that uh, you may not be able to afford the course, we would like to tell you that please do not see that as a constraint. There is no um, prescribed course fee. It is only on a voluntary basis, and we can tell you what previous IIE participants have contributed for participating in the course, and you can contribute based on uh, your ability and wish to do so. Um, Applications for the course are open. You can apply by clicking on the Apply Now button. And if you have any questions at all, you can write to us at iie@think.education, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Uh,
And
so
we have another webinar on 13th April where we show or discuss how these inquiry abilities, that we call them these inquiry abilities, how they are useful in our personal and other walks of life. So watch out for the webinar on 13th as well.
yeah, we're on various social media platforms. We will find a way to share the links to that. Perhaps they're already next to the Think subscribe button, so you can check them out and stay tuned. I don't see any questions in the chat. Um, so if you do have any, we have shared our email address with you, so feel free to write to us.
Okay.
All right, thank you for joining us today, and we apologize once again for the technical difficulties. And see you soon in the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.